Hi, I noticed that many people mistakenly put old and new model of HP Omen 15 in one bag. Believe me, there is a huge difference between the 2018 and 2019 Omen, and in this in-depth comparison I will explain why. If you don't wanna make a bad choice, you should definitely watch this video before you buy, because today we will compare the performance, thermals, quality, features, other configurations, and basically everything that will help you decide which one is better for you. If you don't know my channel yet and you like this kind of comparisons, consider subscribing Tech Finds and hit notification bell if you don't wanna miss the upcoming videos. As always, in the video description I left the Amazon links to check the current price, and in the comment section you can find the timestamps to skip to any part of this video. They should work for mobile users as well. I'm Chris and now let's get to the comparison. First, let's get one thing out of the way. This is the older model that was released in 2018, but then in 2019 it was updated with RTX graphics cards. However, they didn't change the design and the updated models had exactly the same features, so in this video I'll call it the 2018 model. This is the new generation of Omen from 2019. It looks different, it has few features and improvements that I will be talking about during the video. In the near future I'm also going to compare the 2019 model to the new 2020 Omen that recently came out, so stay tuned. With that said, let's start with the design that is almost identical in both cases. The easiest way to tell the difference between the previous and next generation is the lid. The 2018 model has red accents and logo, while the 2019 model is all black. The next difference is hinge. You can see that in old model it consists of two parts, while the new model has one long hinge in the center. In both cases I don't recommend opening the laptop grasping the corner, as the display bends more than in laptops with the hinges on the opposite sides. The exhausts has also changed. In new model they are thinner, but you have additional exhaust on the right hand side. In old model you have two exhausts that are taller, making the gap between the deck and display smaller. The interior looks pretty much the same though. Both laptops come with thin bezel display, and in both you can find a 720p webcam located properly on the top bezel. And the build quality is another thing to mention, and obviously it looks like HP improved it with the new generation. The 2019 model is all made of metal, while the 2018 model has plastic lid and bottom and only metal deck. If it comes to dimensions and weight, both laptops are practically the same, with the only difference that the new model is thinner and slightly lighter. If it comes to keyboard, HP didn't change anything. It's still the same keyboard as in the previous generation, so it has 1.5mm key travel, good spacing, it's comfortable to type on and easy to get used to. It has one dedicated key to open the command center app, but unfortunately there is no button for instant boosting the fan speed, and the arrow keys are pretty small. You have 4 zones of RGB, where the 4th zone includes only WSAD keys. The light is strong and vivid, but the black keys hide the light when you look at the keyboard at certain angles. There are also configurations of 2019 Omen with red keyboard only, so make sure that you buy the right one. The touchpad stays with no changes as well. It looks the same, it still uses Elan drivers, but it's very precise and I liked using it. The good thing is that it has dedicated buttons for left and right click. And this is what the port selection looks like. You can see that the old model has security lock and 3.5mm jack for headphones and microphones separately, while the new model has audio combo jack and no security lock anymore. The rest of the ports remain the same, including Thunderbolt 3. If it comes to display, my both models that I had came with 1080p 144Hz IPS panel with about 9 milliseconds response time, and before you ask, no G-Sync here because I had the configurations with RTX 2060. If you want G-Sync you have to choose the model with RTX 2070 or 2080. There are also other display options that you can choose, including 1080p 60Hz, 1080p 240Hz and 4K 60Hz. Now, since both displays were the same, the color coverage and brightness was identical as well. You can easily use any of these laptops for video or photo editing, the games look great and smooth, and the viewing angles are good. One thing to mention is that Omen laptops are sometimes mistakenly listed as 144Hz in the USA, while they actually come with 60Hz, so be careful and confirm the display specs with the seller before you buy. The quality of both panels was good. The camera was able to capture some backlight bleeding in both cases, but it was not visible to my eye during normal use even when the screen was black. Alright, so now let's talk about available configurations and approximated prices of both laptops, but please note that the prices might change with time. So in the video description I left the Amazon links for USA and other countries to check the current prices of certain configurations that I found. It looks like the older model has wider range of configurations, including GTX and RTX models. However, it's hard to find the older GTX 1060 or GTX 1050 Ti models now, since they seem a bit outdated and it usually pays off better to buy some GTX 1660 Ti model instead. The 2018 model has also 8th and 9th generation i5 and i7 processors to choose from, but again, it's more common to find it with newer processors nowadays. It's worth to mention that you can build your own configurations directly on HP website. The new generation of Omen doesn't come with Pascal GPUs, so you can choose anything from GTX 1650 plus i5 up to RTX 2080 plus i9. It's worth mentioning that for the 15-inch models, the RTX 2070 and 2080 are actually max-Q, while the 17-inch models come with full power versions of these graphics cards. As for the display, in both cases you have 4 display options that I mentioned before, but the G-Sync is only available with 240Hz and 144Hz one when you have at least the configuration with RTX 2070 or 2080 if we were talking about the 2019 model. However, I'm not sure if this criteria applies to the 2018 model as well. By the way, I found that the 17-inch model of new Omen with RTX 2080 costs a good $500 less than other laptops with this GPU, so if you're after such powerful specs, check it out in the links below. Alright, coming back to the review, let's talk about speakers. The Omen uses Bang & Olufsen audio and it sounds good. It can get loud without distortion and the sound is crispy and clear. There is some bass, but it's nowhere close to something like Asus Scar 3. Again, this applies to both generations since I found them sound the same good. If it comes to performance and cooling, this is where the biggest changes have been done. I've got both laptops with the same specs, so the comparison will give you a better idea of what to expect from each device. I pushed both laptops to the limits, so for testing purposes I set the performance mode in both laptops for more CPU power, and with the 2019 model I also enabled the maximum fan speed for better cooling. You don't have that option with the older model and that's a definite disadvantage. Here is a quick preview of the game performance, but if you want to see more games tested, check out my gaming benchmark videos where I tested 20 games on each laptop. Links to the videos will be in the description. If it comes to thermals, the 2019 Omen was on a warmer side, reaching the average CPU temperature of 93 degrees Celsius and average GPU temperature of 74 degrees when I tested it right out of the box. Fortunately, thanks to undervolting, you are able to significantly lower the temperature of the CPU. Here you can see the results of my tests on different settings. It looks like the most optimal settings for both good temperatures and performance was to set the performance mode and undervolt the CPU by minus 0.130 volts. In my case, it made the power limit to stay at the same constant level of 49 watts. The laptop could still reach the maximum possible clock speed, surprisingly low temperatures without thermal throttling, and practically the same good performance as with other settings that cause much more heat. The default mode, which limits the CPU power to 30 watts, is worth considering as well when your game doesn't need the full power of CPU to reach the highest frame rate. The older model was a bit cooler right out of the box, but still a bit hot, reaching 89 degrees Celsius on the CPU and a decent 75 degrees on the GPU. However, in this case undervolting didn't change much, because after applying minus 0.130 volts, the average CPU temperature dropped by only 4 degrees Celsius. As I said before, it was not possible to enable the maximum fan speed in older Omen, as the fans are automatic. Nonetheless, the average of 85 degrees on the CPU is pretty decent. Alright, enough about performance, now let's talk about upgradability and storage. I tested the M.2 SSD speeds in both laptops and here are the results. If you will buy any of these laptops with only SSD, you will probably wanna add more storage. So if it comes to accessibility, I find the 2019 Omen easier to upgrade. You have to unscrew only 6 screws to get access to your RAM, 2.5-inch hard drive, and one M.2 PCIe slot. The lid goes off pretty easily compared to the older model where everything holds tight together. You have 8 screws to remove and inside you can find your M.2 NVMe SSD, 2.5-inch hard drive, and 2 RAM slots. If you worry about breaking something, I made a step-by-step detailed guide where I am showing you how to disassemble and upgrade each laptop. So if you're planning to add more RAM, swap out your hard drive or SSD, you can check it out. Links to the videos will be in the description. As for the battery life, both laptops had about the same results. It's worth to mention that Omen laptops don't have Optimus, so they have to run on Nvidia GPU that consumes more power than integrated graphics. Nonetheless, I think that more than 4 hours of use is a decent score. Alright, it seems to be everything that you need to know to wisely choose one of these laptops, but before we finish, let me share my closing thoughts. So generally, it looks like HP made some crucial improvements to the new generation of Omen. The most important thing is that they finally added a fan control switch that comes in handy when you want to maintain lower temperatures when playing demanding games. Moreover, undervolting has now more impact to the temperatures, so you have extended control over the cooling. The build quality is also better in the 2019 model as it is all metal, and despite that, the laptop is even slightly lighter. The price might be different in each country, but for sure the 2018 model has wider range of configurations, so if you're looking for something cheaper, you might find some GTX 1050 Ti option at lower price. Since both laptops are from the same Omen line, a lot of things stay the same or very similar. For example, speakers, design, keyboard, touchpad, display options, port selection and so on. However, if I had to choose, I'd rather go for the 2019 model as the fan control makes a significant difference in gaming performance and the laptop lifespan. But each person has different needs and expectations, so I am curious what is your choice. I hope that this video helped you decide, so if you know which laptop you're gonna buy now, let us know in the comments. If you're new to the channel, it would be awesome if you consider subscribing Tech Finds. On my channel you can find detailed laptop reviews, laptop comparisons, gaming benchmarks and more. Now thanks for your time and see you in the next video.